Give us your perfect first date.
First of all, my man needs to make at least 7 figures. That's number one. Number two, if he wants to take, if he want, I need a leader. Okay,
Right.
So I need him to be like, yo, the private jet is ready at 8. Your dress is being delivered at 6, and the car service is coming at 7.
How many private jets you been on now?
Honestly, that's why I'm not in the dating scene. Because if you're not meeting those standards, I'm staying single. Sorry, baby.
You serious?
I'm.
Of
course.
Hey, these brothers. Man, I just want to have a quick conversation with y'all men this morning, man, for the brothers that aren't aware of a certain thing, man. Like, you have to understand that in most situations, most relationships, man, one man's wife is another man's concubine. You know what I'm saying? And to make that more relatable, I'll say it like this. One, if there is a woman that you're into, you're dating, you're courting, you have to understand that for all the hoops you're jumping through trying to impress this woman, trying to get her on your team, there's another man on the planet that can just pick up the phone, tell her to come over or fly in and get the exact same result, having never jumped through the hoops that you're trying to jump through. Is what I'm really trying to get to, man. Every man at some point must understand that, right? But the first thing I want to talk about, man, is because the sister in the clip made me think about it, man. Just the pure delusion of some women. And I think that everybody should strive to have the best mate and all that kind of stuff. Strive to have the man with the best money. Strive to have the woman with the best figure and best personality and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to a lot of our women, man, it's straight delusional. It's straight delusional, man. This was on the web, since day one, but I believe it really, a light was really put on it, man, when Kevin Samuels was doing this thing. And he had the show where women could call in and give their piece and give their spiel on relationships and all that. And a lot of women were saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know I'm 300 pounds. I know I'm unemployed. I know I got on a horrible lace front. I know I got 7 kids and 6 baby daddies. I know that. But my man has to make $300,000. He has to walk on streets of gold. He has to be the king of Zamunda. Like this is my man. And like in my mind, I'm thinking, do women understand that all of them are looking for literally a 1% man? Like literally a man that represents 1% of all population. And I'm not saying they shouldn't strive for that. A person should try to get what they want to get. But at some point, women have to understand is delusion. That's like every man getting on a podcast and describing I would just say a Beyonce. The woman I get, she has to be a Grammy winning artist, and she has to be half a billionaire, and she has to be. Women would be like, are these men crazy? So it's a level of just delusion that's just insane, man. And what's going to happen, and I used to say to myself, this is what's going to happen in the future. But what's happening now is you have a lot of women that are hitting a certain age, and that age is different. Sometimes it's 40, sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's 60s, that are saying, you know what, okay, now that I'm sitting here and I thought that I wanted this and deserved this and that I thought that I was this, they're going to look up and say, you know what? I've been single for this many years, and now I see all the good men that shot their shots, and I could have been entertaining, man. So that's what's happening. And I have a few female friends that are older than me that I've had those conversations with. Now they're looking for just a good man. And I would say the cause of this, man, I would have to blame it on the internet, because in my mind, the women before the year 2000, before the internet was the internet, these women weren't looking for the LeBron James. They were just looking for, good men, good personality, good father traits, good job, good head on his shoulder. That was the catch. But that man is not worthy anymore. If a man isn't an entrepreneur, if he isn't making 6 figures, 7 figures in some cases, he's not going to make the cut. So it's just the level of delusion, man. But enough about that, man. Because what I want to talk about after that is what happens when you do bring that woman in your life? That woman that says, oh, you got to check all these boxes. And you say, okay, you know what? I can check those boxes. Now let me bring you into my life. Now a man has to say, what am I getting for that? What am I getting for that? Because a lot of women, they never discuss that. They never discuss, hey, you know what? You bring me in your life and this is what I'm going to do for you. It's always about this is what I'm going to get, but this is not what I'm going to do for you as a man. You got to understand, man, a lot of these women are bringing trauma, which a lot of people have childhood trauma. A lot of people have trauma from things they've gone through. A lot of people have trauma from previous relationships. So most of these women are going to be bringing trauma from guys that cheated on them, guys that abused them, guys that did X, Y, Z. And they're going to be putting that on your plate. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these women don't cook. A lot of these women don't clean. Not to say that that's a woman's sole role, but if you're going to come into a man's life, you should be offering something around that. They're offering you having multiple partners. I mean, it's not even a thing anymore for a woman not to have had a lot of partners. Like, that's standard now. Like several years ago, man, a woman, even if she had a lot of partners, man, she would try to subdue that at least. Now it's just out in the world. A woman is proud to say she's had 100, 50 or whatever that number is, man. So she's bringing partners. She's bringing STDs. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, and this is the second part I want to talk about, man, you have to understand that one thing most women are bringing that's not being talked about is that guy that always has that position. So again, a lot of women are saying, hey, come at me and treat me like wifey. I want to be, put on the moon. I want to be, I want all the bells and whistles of a relationship. Whole time there's a guy on the back burner that can get at your girl at any time. And my thing is, who wants to live like that? What man wants to have a woman in his life, man, knowing that the guy she just left, or knowing that the guy that they had a fling with back in 2015 can always call her up and get with her, man. Like that shouldn't be an option, because you got to understand, if your relationship is in that kind of dynamic, man, is never going to work. It's always going to be a state of chaos. So what I want to tell y'all brothers, man, is you have to pick a game you're wanting to play. Understanding that you have to pick a game you're wanting to play. And I'm not going to sit here and say that men should get married, or men should never get married, or men shouldn't pursue long-term relationships, because that's a channel that a man can choose. And to be honest, man, in the healthiest of situations, if you can have two healed, two healthy, two sound mind, two consciously aware people coming together and forming a union on whatever level they choose to, and living and building a life, bro, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. But you got to understand that scenario represents a small percentage of relationships you see. To have two people in a relationship, happy, healthy, and moving and building a kingdom, well, that represents way. Now, a lot of people are simulating that. You get on the gram, you get on the book. A lot of people are simulating that they're living that life, but most relationships aren't even on the same accord. Most relationships aren't even living in a singular truth. Shameless plug. Go get the book. Right. So that is one alternative path to take. The other path is strictly being the player, strictly being the F-boy, which I don't promote, but I'll say this. In this day and time, F-boys are winning. And I've said that before, and I don't believe it's a secret. If a man is going to choose to be, hey, I'm going to be a solid man, I'm going to find me a wife and raise my family and keep, if he's going to pick that, if he's looking at that game, or the game of just like, I'm going to be for these streets, I'm going to be on my future timeline. Like, I'm going to be hitting women up that are married. When they come at me, I'm going to be hitting women in the DMs that got booze and they want to come hang out with. Like, that's a whole other way you can play. And to be honest, those guys are, quote unquote, winning in this day and time. I don't think it's any secret, right? So it's just a matter of which game you want to play, man. But then there's like a third game you can play, bro. And it's just like, and I believe it's the game that most men are leaning towards now, man, to be honest. And it's more of a James Bondish 007 type energy where a man is just living his best life. You know what I'm saying? He's getting to his bag. He's getting his body in ultimate shape. He's seeing the world. He's worried about himself. And if a woman just happens to cross his path and wants to entertain his energy, then he may not entertain it. But he's not playing either of the older games, man. He's not subscribed to the standard business models of the world, man, because you got to understand it's just different. It's just a different world we're living in, man. So all I'm saying is, man, when you're out in these dating streets, man, when you're out, showering your woman with gifts, when you're out talking to these women that's saying, you got to put me on a private jet, you got to be able to do X, Y, Z, you got to be making this much money. Understand, there's a man somewhere on the planet that can get that exact same thing you're trying to get from that woman, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whether it's intimacy. He can get that exact same thing without jumping through any hoops. Right? So I'll go back and say this. Let me go back and say this, man. If you are going to take the route where it's like, okay, you know what? I want to get with this woman. I want to treat her, as if I would the long way. Like, she's my girl. She's going to be wife type, whatever, right? If you're going to go that route, travel that path, but before you commit to that path, make sure that you're that guy that checks that other box. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, let me say it like this. In other words, if you get with the woman and she's wanting you to jump through hoops, or she's speaking her demands, this is what a guy got to do to me, put her in a position where you're not doing that, and she has to make a decision and say, okay, you know what? I said what I said, and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, make sure if you're going to commit to a woman, in other words, make sure you're that guy that or if you feel that spot of that guy that can just call her up on at a moment's notice. And I know that sounds funny, but just make sure you're him. Make sure you as her man, and make sure that guy that's on the back burner are the same person, is all I'm really saying, right? Because again, man, one man's wife is another man's concubine. The woman you're trying to give the world, another man can get the same thing, man, with giving her nothing, brothers.